that's not where I'm talking to you from now. That's another property that I've got down here on the south coast of France. That's on the Riviera. And, you know, I love being able to just look out into the distance. Nothing gets in my way. I find it very, very inspirational. I love collecting art. So actually, I don't know if you can see that one behind me. That's an original piece that we've got over there. We commissioned it from an artist in Athens. And I love being able to invest in my passions and support art and the world of the arts. This is another one of my passions. I love motor racing. So here at Monaco, there's a Grand Prix, but there's also a historic Grand Prix. And we sponsor cars in the historic Grand Prix. So I don't know if you like the idea of investing in motor racing and bringing young drivers through and that sort of stuff. But my point is, you won't be like me in the sense that the specific things you want to do. You will be like me in the specific sense that you want choices. Now, I don't know what choices you want, but I know that commercial property and property in general will give you a massive leg up that aspirational ladder. And it's never, ever too late to be who you might have been. And I love that picture because that picture speaks to me about, you know, it doesn't matter how old you are, there's always lots of things that you can do in your life. And the main question people have to answer generally is, how do I get the money together? How do I get the wealth such that I can do the things that I've always wanted to do? Now, I probably don't need to convince any of you, and I'm not going to spend any time trying, that residential property is a good long-term investment. That's the Bank of England measuring house prices going back to 1845. So the track record of property in the UK is like 175 years old now or something, you know, whatever it is. And apart from World War I and World War II, it's pretty much gone inexorably up. So the UK property market, safe as houses. Now, 99% of people, 99% of property investors do not even look at commercial property. They'll see some headline and think, oh no, that's scary. And they'll think, well, maybe I could be Amazon's landlord. Maybe I could buy that warehouse and rent it out or whatever, but I wouldn't really know where to start. It's much more complicated than residential property, isn't it? Well, I think the key word is different, but in a way, if you're not a property investor at all, and you've never invested in residential property, it's actually easier to become a commercial property investor because they're almost always diametrically opposite. What is true for residential property is almost exactly the opposite for commercial property. So just to give you an example, if you are a landlord of a house or something and you've got a family living there, you know, in a normal buy-to-let situation, and the boiler goes kaput, well, you, the landlord, are responsible for paying for the repairs. However, if something goes, a big air conditioning unit or an electricity substation or something goes boom in a situation like that with Amazon, then they're paying for it. So you might want to write this down, FRI, Foxtrot, Romeo, Indigo, FRI. What that means is full repairing and insuring. So the tenant is responsible for all repairs, all maintenance, and the insurance. So just as an example, commercial property in that specific respect could not really be more different to residential property. So are you following me that residential and commercial are almost exactly opposite in almost every aspect? So, you know, in the context of inflation and energy bills soaring and all these other things, well, if you're a commercial landlord, it's not that you don't care, you do care as a human being. But as an HMO landlord, house multiple occupation landlord, for instance, well, you're paying the electric bill, you're paying the gas bill. So if the tenant is responsible for all of those things, you, the landlord, have a much quieter life. And the quieter life is given to you on a plate by things like this. KFC, Kentucky Fried Chicken, is creating 5,400 jobs in the UK and Ireland. And if you know where to look, it's actually websites you can go to, not KFC, because they'll try and sell you a bargain bucket, you know, or whatever, and baked beans. If you go to KFC developments, they'll actually tell you, well, we've got these 4 types of store, drive-through, right through to, you know, mini city centre. This is the spec, this many thousand square feet, this many car parking spaces, and we want them in the following areas. And they'll actually give you a list, postcodes of where they want the properties. Does it really get much simpler than that? Because if you're prepared to believe, then you can achieve. Now, we all know, because it's even in our language, we talk about as safe as houses in the English language, don't we? So how about I give you a new proposition? Instead of as safe as houses, because that's residential, how about for commercial property, as safe as temples? What? He's gone mad. Temples, this is the oldest commercial lease that I'm aware of. And this is a Greek temple. And there was a proper lease, and it's, if you could translate it from the original language, it's very recognizable as an FRI lease 2,000 years later. The buy-to-let market started in 1996. How can you be so specific, Paul? Well, before 1996, there were no buy-to-let mortgages. Commercial property has been around for millennia, for thousands of years. Residential property as an investment asset class, 40 years, not even. So on the one hand, you've got residential that's new, untried, still evolving, stress tests, will this work, will that work? On the other hand, you've got an asset class, a commercial asset class that's been in place for millennia. So in my mind, if you know the rules and they've been in place for thousands of years, that is far simpler to project what's going to happen next than something that only started a few decades ago. And I want to encourage you to think about that temple. So just think about that temple, the original commercial lease that we could find, that I could find. And think about building your own temple of wealth. And I'm going to keep coming back to this temple of wealth. The temple of wealth is built on a foundation. And what is that foundation? Well, it's a mindset. If you think you can, you think you can't, you're probably right. That's Henry Ford from, the early 1900s. And it is so true. If you believe that you can do commercial property, you can. And what are the pillars in your temple of wealth? Well, you need to understand property strategies. There are no billionaires or millionaires that live at home with their mum. Every wealthy person owns property. Every, full stop. But here's the misconception. Most people think that you become wealthy and then you get property. Wrong. You get property and then you get wealthy. That's how it works. Property has created more millionaires and billionaires than anything else on the planet in the history of time. All of the business ventures in all of human endeavor are that big compared to the value in property, which is that big. Why? Because everybody needs somewhere to live, everybody needs somewhere to meet, everybody needs somewhere to do business. Next, all of us need a pension plan. Now, whether we do or not is a different thing. I mean, I could have retired in the sense that I don't need to work, and I probably work about 2 days a week now, so I've flipped it round. So instead of a 2-day weekend and 5 days at work, I do a couple of days of work and I have a 5-day weekend. And quite often I'll maybe go to a Formula One race for the long weekend or whatever. So if you need help with your pension, well, guess what? Property can help you there too. So I'm going to go into a specific example in this webinar of how you can use commercial property in your pension scheme. So I'll tell you what you need to do, I'll give you the key words, you decide whether you want to do it or not. In addition to that, a trading business is a good idea. Now, commercial property can tick that box too, because if you've got a commercial property with a trading business in it that gives you revenue in exchange for none of your time, that for me is wealth. And finally, cash and near cash. You always want cash and near. So near cash is stocks and shares, gold, crypto, stuff like that. Because for me, you need all those 4 pillars. Then you tie them together with leverage. What's that, Paul, in English? It means mortgages. It means debt. Systems. Systems do the work so you don't have to. And finally, people. So what's the definition? So that's my temple of wealth model. And I want to just hold that. I want you to hold that in your mind, please, as we go through the various examples and case studies that we're going to go through. Because a business, for me, is a profitable commercial enterprise that works without you. In other words, you receive money in exchange for none of your time. That is the fundamental precept of wealth. That is the precondition of wealth. You no longer exchange your time for money. You don't go to work. You get money for staying in bed, if that's what you want to do. So that is the Temple of Wealth. And that Temple of Wealth, I've recorded a 42-part, so 6 weeks. And the way in which we release that to people is we give you a 10-15 minute snippet working on one of those elements, and you get 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes, and it takes 30 days to build a habit. So I'm pounding your inbox for 42 days to build habits that are going to help you build a temple of wealth. Because fundamentally, I've got an hour. I can't change your life in an hour. I can give you some processes, I can give you some examples, I can tell you how you could begin to take that journey, but I mean, blimey. I mean, that task of making everybody wealthy as a result of a 1 hour webinar is just beyond my capability. And if you want that, well, probably go and find someone else, because this involves work, it involves persistence. The results are real, tangible, but you ain't going to get them by tomorrow morning having done nothing. So let's get into commercial property now. Let's give you some auctions, and let's give you some really, really meaty content. Two of our lovely students, Yuri and Gabriella, did something that I call offices under the hammer. You've possibly heard of that TV program, Homes Under the Hammer, and they were featured on it, but they bought offices. Now these things, these properties here, were advertised as 1-bedroom mid-terrace bungalows. Wrong. They were offices. They were not bungalows. So when you're looking at something like this, how do you know that's not a bungalow? It looks like a bungalow, feels like a bungalow, quacks like a bungalow. It's probably a bungalow. Wrong. You start with the planning use class. Here's Yuri, and if you want to go check him out, it's Homes Under the Hammer, Series 24, Episode 25. And here's Gabriella on the same episode, of course. So this film crew followed them, and they were really fascinated because they're not really used to people buying commercial properties. So these two buildings that they bought were offices. And these two offices, because of their planning use class, were not subject to all kinds of taxes that you would be subject to if you were buying residential property. What did they do? Well, they put in planning permission. So this is the floor plan of the properties at purchase. And this is what they did to them. They turned them into, so this is called a commercial conversion. So they bought these properties very cheap because they were unoccupied offices. They got planning permission and they converted them into 3-bedroom bungalows. So let me give you the figures. These two properties were guided at 34 to 38. So that meant the guide price at the auction was 34 to 38. They actually paid £65,000 for each of them. So that's 130. They paid fees, which was, the auctioneer's fees and legal fees and all that kind of stuff. And I'll cover stamp duty on the next slide. That was £9,000. And then they spent another £81,000 doing the conversion. So in total, they spent £220,000 on the two. They sold one for 190, they sold the other for 390, and they sold them. So they made a profit of £170,000 on two little offices that they converted to 2 3-bedroom bungalows. So just check in with you here. Who likes the idea of doing a little project like that, fast start, make 170 grand profit? And it took them around about 6 months start to finish. It is so easy to do. And honestly, hand on heart, have any of you considered previously going along to residential property auctions and buying the commercial properties that nobody else wants because nobody knows what they are? And just think about that as a statement. Most people, most landlords, wouldn't even occur to them to do anything like that. But here's where you get to the meat of why people would invest in education. The stamp duty, because they were bungalows on the auction description, the solicitor wanted to charge Yuri and Gabriella £3,900 of stamp duty. Wrong, they're commercial properties. And here's the planning permission that proves they are commercial properties, and they've been used as commercial properties for many, many years. There is no stamp duty on a commercial property up to £150,000. So simply put, if Yuri and Gabriella hadn't had the training, they would have wasted £3,900. The £81,000 of work, the building work to turn them into 3-bed, the extensions and the modification and the refurbishment, £81,000. Most people don't know that the correct rate of VAT for a commercial conversion is 5%, not 20% VAT. But you can't do that unless you've got the knowledge to be able to tell people that that's wrong. And you have to have the confidence to challenge your solicitor, to challenge your builder, to challenge your accountant, because these people generally don't know. Next, when they sold these properties, most people think, oh, you've got to pay 28% CGT, capital gains tax. Wrong. If you have a property company that intends to buy and sell, a property trading company, well, that's not subject to CGT, that's subject to corporation tax. Most people don't know that. Most accountants will know that if you tell them, but they won't voluntarily tell you that. Oh, you bought the property and you sold it, therefore it's 28% CGT. That saved another 28 grand. Capital allowances, what on earth's that? Well, you get capital allowances when you purchase commercial property. They haven't been claimed before. The capital allowances on these two properties were 38,500. So if you add it together, all of the savings, they saved a grand total of 58,871. So of the £170,000 they made, they would have lost £58,000 of that in taxes. So I know you won't understand all the intricacies, probably, of what I just said, but without the education, you wouldn't even know, you wouldn't even think to challenge the solicitor. I mean, they're sat there at the other side of the desk charging you hundreds of pounds an hour. They got a pinstripe suit on, a certificate on the wall that proves they're clever. Doesn't mean they know anything about tax, does it? They didn't do. I mean, I was once talking to a commercial solicitor and said, you know, this is how commercial stamp duty works. There's nothing up to 150,000. Between 150 and 250 is 2%, and over 250 is 5%. And she actually said to me, no. And this was in front of a live room of maybe 250 people. She said, you're wrong. I thought, what? I'm not wrong. That's the law. And she said, no. That's not how it works. When we do a transaction, we have a stamp duty calculator. We put the number in and it calculates it for us. So even the commercial solicitor, all they're doing is brainlessly putting a number into a box. They don't understand the formula. They don't know which formula to use. So is anybody shocked, yes or no, that most solicitors do not understand how to calculate stamp duty from first principles? They don't. All they do is shove it into a box, the number pops out the end, and there's got no common sense check as to whether it's right or not. So whatever you end up paying is a result of some algorithm that they don't understand that's calculated a number based on an incorrect understanding of the accounting principles. Because they're solicitors, they're not accountants, but they're the ones that work out the stamp duty. Scary. So here's some pictures of after. You can see what a nice job they did, yeah, and they sold them. So this is the sort of standard of finish that they did on the inside. So very nice, a couple of modern 3-bed. So that particular strategy is called a commercial conversion. And that means buying a commercial property and converting it to residential. So, and the shorthand in the trade for that is CC. But in order to become part of that 1% of people that can do things like that, you have to do what the other 99% won't do. So if you'd like to discover how to buy great commercial property bargains from auction, because 99% of people don't do that, you need to learn an awful lot more than I just told you. I'd love to say to you, as a result of my 5-minute dive into one auction property, right, you're now fully qualified, off you go. But I could spend 2 days talking to you about do this, don't do that, have you thought about this? You have to get a deep knowledge of this subject if that's what you want to do. What's Warren Buffett's advice? What Warren Buffett said famously is to become part of the 1%, you cannot follow the 99%. 99% of people don't know how to do this. Therefore, by definition, 99% of people cannot tell you what to do, even if you want to do it. So you need to be the exception. You need to literally be the exception. And I mean 1% of property investors, not 1% of the general population, because there's only 3% of the general population that are actually property investors. You need to be 1% of that 3%. So how do we work? Well, education, mentorship, accountability. That's what we do. That's one of my more recent books. It's called Wealth Through Property. It does what it says on the tin. And it helps people to understand from first principles how to become wealthy through property, which is why I called it Wealth Through Property. This is a lady called Helen Louise, lovely lady. And she's one of our high value clients. Now, our high value clients invest anywhere between £3,000 and £30,000. Up to you, up to them. So Helen Louise came along, and to give you the picture on Helen Louise, and by the way, doesn't she look happy? That's what she's doing now. That's a little girl on her back. She loves hill walking. She's got a dog called Tripod because it's got 3 legs. When she first came to us 3 years ago, she was a teacher, young mum, little baby girl had just been born. Now, roll the clock forward a few years, she earns more than 3 times what she used to earn as a teacher, and she's not a teacher anymore. She used to love teaching as a vocation, but just a couple of weeks after she gave birth, she had to go back to teaching because her household budget couldn't survive without that salary. She knew nothing about property. She'd never been a property investor. Now, flies around the world, business class to Dubai, whatever. Whenever I'm giving you examples like this, please write down that young lady's name, in this case, Helen Louise. Go into the Touchstone Education Facebook group, and if you want to know more information about what she did or how she did it or what did she learn about, feel free to contact her. She's a lovely lady, and she'll just chat to you because she doesn't have a job anymore, so she's got time to chat to you. Okay, so I'm going to move on. Why would Helen and others like her invest between £3,000 and £30,000 in our courses, our products, our mentorship? Well, simply because look at that one slide that I've just shown you. One slide on one small project with 4 or 5 bullet points on it, resulting in £58,871 worth of tax savings. And Yuri and Gabriella would very happily admit. And by the way, Yuri Dontu, I've given you their names, I've given you screenshots, I've told you when they've been on Homes Under the Hammer. Either one of those would say you need to become a high value client if you're serious about becoming wealthy through property. What is Touchstone Education? Well, we exist to make wealth education mainstream. That's what I want to do. And my vision is for you to discover the simple steps so that you can become wealthy just like I did. Now, I'm a normal kid, brought up in a Yorkshire pit village, did my secondary school in Hertfordshire. No money around the house, lots of love, but ultimately, I now live in Monaco. Whose fault's that? Mine. In exactly the same way that if I'd gone to my grave as a pauper, whose fault would that have been? Mine. If you want to become wealthy, you have to accept responsibility. It can't be, oh, I'm entitled to this, or the government should do more. Sod that. You are responsible for you. And as long as you've got that mindset, then Touchstone Education is probably quite a good fit. That's our home. That's where the head office is. That's in Doncaster. It's called Synergy House. So just Google it. You'll see that we own a £1.5 million office block. And I'll come back to that in about 10, 15 minutes time. But if you want to work with a property that is deadly serious about making you wealthy, a property company, then that's Touchstone. Go and do some research on us. Let's go back to pensions. Is building a comfortable income in retirement important to you? Well, a load of you said earlier on, yes, it is. So using my private pension, this is more than 20 years ago now, I bought that shop. I'll give you the figures in a second. So it's not Costa, it's Shelter. I love charity shops. Why? Charity shops don't pay for their stock. It's free stuff. So Amazon delivers whatever, the whatever is replacing the whatever, the old whatever, table, clothes, hat stand, chair, gets given to Shelter or equivalent, and they sell it. So they don't pay for their stock. They don't pay their staff because they're all volunteers. They don't pay business rates because they're a charity. So you've got to be a special kind of incompetent to go bust if you're running a charity shop. It's almost impossible. They're one of the best tenants in the high street. And by the way, commercial property is not all about shops. Shops is one asset class, but you've got factories, wind farms, warehouses, yada, yada. In fact, it's easier to say what commercial property isn't. A commercial property isn't where somebody lives. It's everything else. And there are hundreds of different kinds of commercial property. And by the way, this is called a shop and uppers because we bought above it as well. So above it, we've got some office space. So I'll give you the figures just now. The purchase price on that one is was 288,000 many years ago. The last 10-year lease ran out 10 years ago. And this is the third 10-year lease that we've just put in place. So it's an FRI, full repair and insuring lease. And they were paying up until, well, actually next month when the new one kicks in, they were paying 25,000 just for the shop. The new rate is 28,000 for the next 10 years. So we've got that in our pension scheme. Because it's in our pension scheme, I say ours, mine and my wife Anniko's, the family's pension scheme, if you like. Because it's in the pension scheme, you don't pay any tax on contributions you might make. The company doesn't pay any tax on contributions it might make. And the rent coming from the shop goes back into the pension tax-free. Now, I basically swapped, I cashed in, if you like, my traditional, I worked for 3 big companies over the years. So please write down transfer value. So I asked my previous employers for a transfer value and I moved it into my private pension. Now, if I'd have left it where it was, it would have paid me £8,000 a year and I would have been roughly 40 then. So instead of £8,000 a year from the age of 60 onwards, I got a lump sum of 400k and I spent 288 on this. The offices above it gave me £6,000, or still give me £6,000. They are in year 2 of a 3-year lease. That's a separate company. So in combination, instantly, I got £31,000 a year at the age of 40 with some of my money, and I still had more cash left, instead of waiting to the age of 60 to get £8,000 a year. Now, is transfer value and private pensions and all that sort of stuff readily understood? No. Why do you think most people would not even have it on their radar to cash in their company pensions or whatever it is and go and buy commercial property with it? Why would most people not do that, do you think? Because they didn't know you could, says Andy. Yeah, that's probably one of the major reasons. Fear, risk. I'm not sure, because I don't think most people know. In order to be afraid of it, they'd have to know that you could do it. But, and then of course it comes down to getting the right tenant and so on. But who likes the idea of having a Costa Coffee or a charity shop or something like that in your pension, chucking money at you? By the way, if I had the one next door, Costa Coffee, that's the same size as mine, that one's giving you about £60,000 a year, just because it's Costa Coffee. Just saying. So if you'd like to learn how to make significant tax-free returns from your commercial property in your pension fund, then this is something that you need to know more about. So how long have you wanted to be wealthy? What are you going to do about it today? How much does not investing cost you? Now, I'm going to suggest to you that it's a certain amount of money, maybe millions, but I'm going to suggest to you there's something far more important than that. Time. How many years of your life have you had to do something that you don't want to do because you weren't wealthy? Is it a year? Is it 5 years? Is it 10 years? Is it 50 years? Doing a job you hate, for someone you don't like, for someone that doesn't respect you, for not enough money, you're making them millions and they're paying you a pittance. Because that is, sadly, the lot of most people. You were not born to just pay the bills and die. And I want to give you a different way. I want to give you a different option. And what I'm trying to do in our time together is just share with you what you can do. And the next stage from that is, well, if you're interested in doing that, how can you do it? So you'd appreciate, given that I've got 60 minutes, I need to give you as much information as I can, but I can't take your hand holding and talk about pensions and auctions and all the other things I'm about to talk about. But just bear in mind, I believe you're always one decision away from a completely and utterly different life. Now, whether that life is traveling the world and having incredible experiences with yourself and your family and your loved ones, I don't know. But I do know that you were born for a lot more than just paying the bills and dying. If you build from the basics, let's look at some government documents now to find out what 99% of landlords achieve. This is a document from 2018. It's called the English Private Landlord Survey, and this mainly talks about residential landlords. So the typical average landlord, as opposed to a professional property investor, which is what I'd want you to be, has got 2 or 3 properties. Yeah, a few, maximum 5. And that is a typical landlord. Now, will being an average 99% landlord deliver your dream? I don't know. But I'm going to give you the figures for an average residential landlord. These are government stats. 94% of landlords operate as private individuals, not as a company. Why? Because they don't know. And on average, they earn 15,000 a year before tax. Now, 15,000 a year before tax is nice extra money, but you can't exactly retire to the Seychelles on that, can you? And that's before tax. So if you're a 40% taxpayer because you're working at the same time, that's probably going to be £8,000 or £9,000 in your pocket. And just 4% rely on buy-to-let as their main business. So in other words, 96% of residential landlords still have to work, which I don't want. Alwyn is saying, yeah, I understand what you're talking about, Paul. So give me a yes or no. Is being an average landlord going to deliver your dreams? Yes or no? Do you need to do something more? You're all saying no. In fact, quite a few of you just shouted at me. You just put exclamations and capital letters and all sorts of stuff. So if you want to become one of our high value clients, my question to you is, would you like to spend 2 whole days with us online to help you decide, do I want to become one of those high value clients that Paul's talking about? And yeah, I've got to invest some chunky money, but would you like a very low risk online 2 days with us for a nominal investment, just so you can decide, okay, do I want to invest 3 to 30K in myself? And there's no right number. It will be the right number for you. Because you might want to do a project like this. So here is a project that I did a few years ago now. So we bought a care home, a rundown care home, or a closed care home, in fact, or closing. There still was residents in it when we went to look at it, but it was in the final stages of being closed. So we bought it for 450. We refurbished it for 125. And because a closed, empty commercial building is worth pennies in the pound, as soon as we turned it into a top end service accommodation unit, it was revalued at 1.2 million. 1.2 million. And now we run it as a commercial holiday let. So companies stay there, the Navy stays there, it's not far from Faslane, biggest Navy base in the UK. People come to Loch Lomond, this is in Scotland by the way, this one. So Loch Lomond's about 5-6 miles away, so they maybe come there because their daughter's getting married or whatever, and they've got relatives from Canada, and that house sleeps easily 20 people. And because it's a commercial property, we picked up allowances, tax allowances of £567,500 on that one property. It's on the west coast of Scotland. It's got over an acre of gardens, so people put up pavilions, they have wedding receptions there. We don't have a wedding license. We could, I suppose. People have business conferences there, and I love it there. It's in a little tiny village, gorgeous village called Rhu, R-H-U, right on the west coast of Scotland. So fabulous. And you're probably thinking, well, is it difficult to get finance for this sort of thing? No. Hodge Bank, based in Cardiff, are service accommodation specialists. Service accommodation is my name for furnished holiday lets and that sort of stuff. So my mortgage on that, as you can see from there, is £1,338 a month. Why am I showing you that? I'm showing you that because this is from summer 2021. So mortgaged it in essentially, I think it was May, was it? 2020, something like that. Set it up, started running it, started getting bookings like this. So from the 7th of August 2021, for 7 nights, gross rental price £7,700, so £1,000 a night. Now, of course, you've got costs. So that's its hallway, or its front, one of its hallways. It's a big house. So in August 2021, we took a gross income of £26,000, and after we paid all our bills, you know, the electric, the gas, the housekeepers, the laundry, all the bits and pieces you have to pay for, we made a profit of £17,500. The reason that stops me in my tracks is that's more than the average residential landlord in a year. Do you remember they make 15,000? And this is tax-free. You might be thinking, well, that's fine, that's August, but what about the off-season? Well, here's a booking that we got the following October, so this is still 2021. And this was a group of firemen that came from the Navy base, and they paid us £11,000 for, I think it was 12 nights. So not quite £1,000 a night. but nearly. And then we got another one, and this was the same people, and they extended and they extended and they extended. And then the fireman came back in February 2022, and we actually kicked him out because we like going spending Christmas there. So I put to you that unsuccessful people make decisions based on the current situation. Successful people make decisions based on where they want to be. Now, for many of you, you'll be at a fork in the road, thinking, is wealth through property, is commercial property for me? Or shall I just carry on because it's all too difficult and I'm tired and I've got to look after the kids and I've got no spare time? If all of those things apply to you, I would say that's why you have to take the other road, the road less traveled. And I want to make it as easy as possible for you. I want to spend 2 days with you, and the team want to spend 2 days with you, talking about service accommodation, about commercial property, about buying from auctions, about raising private or joint venture finance, about, yes, let's have a look at residential property as well. Because I want to get you to the point that you are literally wealthy through property. Not only have you got money to cover your expenses and your liabilities, you've got a pool of wealth, and you can invest in those little luxuries, whether it's watches, whether it's building, giving back. You might want to build care homes or orphanages in Sri Lanka or Angola, or I don't know what you want to do. But I know that if I help you to create that wealth and give you those choices, you will then be in a more powerful place to have more choices. If you honestly believe that having wealth, having more money, not having to work, not having to sell your life for money, which is essentially what working is, if you want that choice, then we want to spend a couple of days with you. Because if you develop a new mindset, you will get new results. You do different things, you'll get a different result. You keep doing the same thing, you're going to keep getting the same result. I haven't really talked about me very much. Just a few slides on me. That's me in the middle, in the hat. At the age of 3, I was trading dinky cars in the street. And people say, oh, little Arthur Daly. And I'm not ashamed of that. Yes, I am a little Arthur Daly. I've learned how to make money. I'm very, very good at it. And I'm even better at teaching other people how to make money. So if people want to have a pop at me, oh, look at him, he's an Arthur Daly. Yes, I am new money, because I came from nothing financially. I came from nowhere. And do you know what? I'm proud of it. And I think anyone with any integrity, common sense and wisdom will recognize that, as opposed to having a go at me. So I'm really not worried. That is my French retreat. That is where we spend weekends. So Monday to Friday, typically, we're in Monaco, and then we pop out to our French villa at the weekends. That is my all-time favorite view. Do you know what? I even prefer that to my view from my balconies here in Monaco. I give myself little gifts, so I can teach you how to do this tax-free through things like LLPs, so that all of the running expenses of your boat, your car, your helicopter, your jet, your spaceship, your whatever, are all completely pre-taxed. Why do I do that? Do I do it because I want a flashy boat to impress people? No. I do it because I want to create memories. Because at the end of the day, what else have we got? I don't want to be the richest man in the graveyard. I want to go to the other place. I want to, leave my deathbed with wonderful memories. This was a few days ago, and I've just put some of my family in there. I'm blessed in many ways. I've got 6 kids. I've got 2 grandchildren. My oldest 2 children are married. So front left, that's Jack. He's my oldest son, he's 32. Harrison is my 9-month-old grandson. And Lisa, that's Jack's wife. And then behind them, on the back of the boat, you can actually see Jenny and Jude, who are our 2 youngest ones, who are at school here in Monaco. That is why I do it. So I don't know what your equivalent picture would be of your of your loved ones. But if you can just imagine your perfect day. So what do we do that day? We went on a cruise for about an hour and a half. We stopped in Cap d'Antibes. We went ashore for a lovely lunch. We came back. We went and moored between the Cannes Islands. We went and looked at the underwater statues, swimming, snorkeling. And so it's a day that I will never forget. And I've got hundreds, probably thousands of pictures from that day. I'm in the business of creating lasting memories. I can't do that. It's very hard to do that if you've got no money. You've got no money, you can't breathe. Every waking moment, you're obsessed, well, where do I get the next penny from? You wake up in the middle of the night, you get stressed, you get fatigued. I don't want that. You don't have to have that. You do not have to have that. So here's our new home, Monaco. It's where we live now. That's our apartment. Well, you probably recognize. That's where I'm talking to you from. It's my front room, if you like. I know you won't want to do the same things as me, but my point remains, I want you to have those choices. Do you know what the issue is with this world? Everyone wants a magical solution to their problem, and everyone refuses to believe in magic. I'm willing to bet huge sums of money that if you go and tell people tomorrow morning or the day after, or whenever, oh, I saw this guy Paul and Steve on this webinar and they were talking about becoming wealthy through property. Ha ha, who do you think you are? Sounds too good to be true, probably is. No such thing as a free lunch. Too big for your boots, they'll end in tears. You don't need any more encouragement like that, do you? So Touchstone is unashamedly a negativity-free zone. Who likes the idea of joining a bunch of people who exist in this bubble of negativity-free zone? Because that's what we're offering. Become wealthy, hang out with people that don't judge you, do what you want to do, and just be you. Remember this always. You live on a blue planet that goes in circles around a ball of fire next to a moon that moves the sea. And many primitive people thought that was magic. It's not, it's just science. And all the stuff that people say, oh, that's magical, it's for the fairy, buy a ticket to see the unicorn or whatever it is. All it means is they don't understand the science and they can't do it. Because property investment is a really, really simple science. And ultimately, that's the magic that it allows me, my family, to live now. That's me and Anniko and her sister and my mum, she's in her 80s now, and Jenny and Jude. We get to do that. And I get it, some people will judge me, oh, what about green and global warming and all that? I'm completely bought into the fact that global warming is happening, and every gram or kilogram of CO2 that we produce in our private jet, we offset it not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 4 times. So we're planting shed loads of trees, we're employing people, we're creating jobs at airports, and all of that is done in a way that is really, really helpful, beneficial to us to maximize our time. And I truly believe that time is your most valuable asset. What you do with it is absolutely critical. So let's have a quick look at some of our Touchstone students projects, and then let's begin to wrap up. And in 10-15 minutes time, we'll get Stevie back on, and we'll do some Q&A. This is Peter and Andrew, very much part of our Touchstone family. That's what our community started calling themselves, the Touchstone family. So they do commercial property, they do commercial conversions, they do service accommodation. They've got projects like this up in Whitby. This is called the Engine Shed. And by the way, this is Peter Abel and Andrew Bartlett, so we'll just give you a second to write those names down. Again, reach out to them in the community, talk to them. So I've given you some £60,000 projects. I then went to a few £100,000. I then went into the millions, and I'm going to go into the many millions. They bought the Engine Shed it's a grade 2 listed engine shed. It was a car park. So what they bought was a car park for 450. All up, including fees, it was 1.8 million. It valued at 3.7 million. So they made a profit of 1.8 million on one project. This is what it looked like before. So an engine shed where you park engines, steam engines or whatever, that had been turned into a car park. That's before work started. And I really can't say anything too much about this. They are absolutely gorgeous apartments that are used as holiday lets in Whitby. If you don't know Whitby, it is fabulous. Then what did they do next? They went and bought an empty hotel again in Whitby. They bought it for 750. All up, they spent 2.6 million, made a profit of 1.3 million. Oh, and by the way, they did that using none of their own money. That was all either bank finance or they used their pensions to achieve that. So in addition to putting property in your pension scheme, you can use your pension to fund your property projects. So if you want to do projects like that, well, you need to understand, obviously, commercial property and holiday, or I call it service accommodation. And of course, we've got more in-depth courses on that. So we plan for our wealth each and every single year. The years fly by. My oldest daughter is now 36. I can remember the day, crystal clear, that she was born in my arms, whatever. So for me, she's still my little baby. She's 36 years old and she's got an 8-year-old daughter and she's married and your life, it seems to me, the older I get, the faster my life goes. The more things I've got to enjoy and I'm just never bored. It just goes. Phew. If you'd like help to plan, we would love to give you that help. Here's most people's wealth plan. Here's the news. You've got a 1 in 50 million chance of winning that lottery. And most lottery winners end up skint, miserable, divorced, drug addicted, whatever, a year later. So how about a £1.4 million building using just 50K? That is what we did when we bought our office block. Love this slide. If you want to be powerful, educate yourself. So it's called Synergy House, Heaven's Walk, Doncaster. We exchanged on it on the 18th of December, 2019. We completed on it 3 months later, 28th of February, 2020. And it's now our head office. And we've got multiple businesses based there. It's called an EDC, with Keys Undertaking, Exchange Late Completion. So we put 50K down, just to prove we were serious. The Keys Undertaking means you can do the refurb, you can do the upgrade between exchange and completion. We got Barclays to agree to give us a mortgage on its finished value, 2.1%, I think we're paying. We agreed finance terms with the main contractor that said, well, you're only working on it for 2 months, so can we just pay you at the end? They said, yeah, that's fine. So what that meant is the 810 was the purchase price, the 250 was the refurb, and I've lumped the fees in there as well, stamp duty and everything. So total costs to us were £1,060,000. It revalued at 1.37 million. You need to understand the commercial valuation formula, which I'd love to go through with you, but I've got about 10 minutes, so I can't really do that now. So come and join us for 2 days and we'll do it then. The Barclays mortgage on it was £1,096,000 because it was based on the end value, not the purchase price. So that meant we got our 50K deposit back, we got £36,000 extra money out. So we got £86,000 back, and we got a 100% financed £1.4 million building. So essentially a free building and 86 grand back. Now, probably most of you won't have 100 staff to go and fill that building up with your various businesses. So if we weren't there, then just to give you a feel for it, every single office building in that complex is full, in that office park is full. And the open market rent on that is 96,000 a year, 8 grand a month. So once again, to become part of the 1%, you've got to do what the other 99% won't do. Would you pay £31,000 for 15 bits of paper? Most of you are going to say no. Let me tell you why you should. This is the capital allowances report on that building. Why on earth, Paul, would you give 31 grand for 15 bits of paper? Well, there's the invoice that shows you we paid £31,483 for it. On the other hand, what do we get for it? Well, we got capital allowances of £518,000. So just give me a yes or no. Would you all be prepared to invest 31 so that you save £500,000 in tax? But most of you won't be able to do that because you don't even know what a capital allowance is. So I'm not criticizing, I'm just sharing with you the kind of stuff that you need to know if you're going to invest in commercial property. This is completely irrelevant to residential property because you can't claim capital allowances. Opposite again, see? So all of that stuff is in limited company essentials. How do you do it? How do you structure, tax efficiency, inheritance tax planning, all of that stuff. I'd love to spend 2 days with you talking about limited company essentials. We haven't got 2 days today, but hopefully I've given you enough information that you're interested or not. So that would be your next step. Warren Buffett famously said, you have to find a way to make money while you sleep. If you don't, you will work until you die, literally. So I'd like to spend 2 or 3 minutes with you now, just hearing from some of our high value clients. All 3 of these happen to be lovely ladies, but don't worry guys, we've got lots of guys as well. So Ellie, I will kill my microphone wherever you're ready. Take
3 years ago, I was in a position where I literally really didn't have very much money. It was very challenging for us. So in that first month, I was looking at £800 to £1,000 a month profit on 1 unit. It's completely automated, my business, and it is incredible. One, what I can now feel comfortable doing for the kids, and 2, they've really seen me as a person change, and they're genuinely proud of what I've achieved. And then definitely it's helping them have a very different mindset right from the get-go. We came across Touchstone, I think it was one of your 2-day courses. We went away from here in February 3 years ago, and we immediately got our first SA. And in the next 3 years from that date, we've got 15 now. Because we've made such a success of it, in our view anyway, we have a very good lifestyle now, yeah, from my husband being made redundant to having a Tesla. When we did the first Touchstone training with you, we were asked to have a goal and what would we like to earn a month, and I think we said 5,000. So we doubled that, 10,000 a month profit.
How long did it take you from joining up to getting your first commercial deal?
I think it was a matter of 3 months.
3 months? How long did it take to get out of the job that you didn't want to do?
There was a roadmap for about 2 to 3 years. I think we did it in about 6 months. Was it all in total?
You've come in, no knowledge of even residential property, and you've gone whoosh straight to commercial property. And your first property, round numbers, 400k, it was 390 something, you'll tell me the number, 397, so purchase price 400. What's your development cost, including fee?
We're looking at about 600,000 now. We've got some good costs coming.
Okay, so round numbers, £1 million. And then by the time it's finished, what's the estimate on the GDV?
1.7 now.
That's a £700,000 profit, however you look at it, everybody. I'm guessing you're probably going to just refinance it and keep it. Yeah. So what's your estimate on the cash flow once you've financed it and kept it?
So with all the rental coming in, we're looking at around about the 90 figure. 90,000. Yeah.
Nice. What was the next one you bought?
So we bought something that was 20 doors down, and it's the iconic building on Fareham. It was on the market for 1.3 and 1.3 million. It's just, that kind of money just doesn't still comprehend. And we got it for 935, so a lot more. So a lot more.
But hang on. That's still the best part of 400,000 reduction. How did you finance the second property? So you had to put 120k into your 400k one. Your £1 million, your 900 and whatever, 30,000 pound one, your £1 million one. How much of your money did you put into that?
0.
Oh, come on, get out of here. You're not talking about that. No money down, other people's money.
And you know how uncomfortable I was with the whole, when people used to talk about, somebody else's money. And I just found it so difficult. So
what are you going to spend?
So it will be over £1 million, but the GDV will be close to 3.5 million.
Buy it for £1 million, spend £1 million on it, and be worth 3.5 million. I mean, in your wildest dreams, Molly, did you think you'd be doing projects with other people's money that make £1.5 million profit?
No. And my advice would be, seriously, if I can do it, anybody can do it. And I would really kind of say, put yourself in a network where there's like-minded people like you, and that's why I chose Touchstone, because I did get a lot of help, and I reached out to lots of people, and it's one of the best moves I've ever made, career-wise or other. So I'm internally, eternally grateful for the support that I've had. So a thank you from me to you.
Oh, Molly, you took the action. We just maybe helped you a little bit along the way. What do you think to those 3 lovely ladies? Are they not just stunning? They're all different, but are they not all incredible in the things that they've done? I just loved we said £5,000. We've doubled it. I've got a Tesla. I just love it. I absolutely love it. So I've got about 2-3 minutes, something like that. And I'll ask Steve to come on and we'll do a Q&A, if that's all right. So what's next? What's your plan? How are you going to claim your dream? I want to offer you some stepping stones to wealth through property. So I've said this a few times now. I want to invite you along to spend 2 days with us at what we call Wealth Through Property. It's a live event, but it's online. So, you can sit wherever you are, and probably 20% of people are from abroad, 80% of people are from the UK. And I'm one of the people that's from abroad, aren't I now? So I'm tuning in from France or Monaco or wherever I am. And it's just 99 quid for 2 days with us and the whole team, just really understanding if Touchstone Education, Wealth Through Property, commercial property is for you. Because if it is, then let's give you the opportunity to get yourself signed up right now. We do this event twice a month, and you can tune in from wherever, so it doesn't matter where you are in the world, as long as you've got an internet connection. So just click on that, 99 quid, but I want to give you a few bonuses. Because I don't want to let anything stop you from achieving the life that you want. So what we're going to cover on that Wealth Through Property 2 days with the team, Stevie, everyone. Well, we call them multiple income stream fundamentals. So commercial property, service accommodation, raising private finance, lease option, all the 10 different things that we talk about. For the full 2 days, it's 99 quid. We talk about how you transform your pension, how do you outsource the work but retain the income, and essentially so this is hello, how are you? Do you like the sound of each other? Do we like the sound of each other? Next step, 2 days. And then third step is you decide, do you want to become like, Molly, for instance, and become one of our high value clients? It's completely up to you. There again, don't worry about that too much. Those are just the property strategies and the company strategies and the tax strategies that we go through over the 2 days. So it's for you. If you want life-changing income, you want to claim back your time, you want to create a legacy, and you want to rediscover your dreams. I love that picture. In my head, that's me at the age of about 3 or 4. And I'm using education and books and knowledge and mentorship to get me out of this horrible, dirty world that most people live in. Because where I want to live is the other side of the wall. I want to get out of here. And I guess that's my version of Monaco, isn't it? And all those years later, here I am in Monaco, and I can live my dreams. And there's spaceships and hot air balloons and butterflies the size of cows. And it's cool. If you decide you want to be an astronaut, you probably will, or a Formula One driver. So what do you get? Well, the Wealth Through Property, the core of it, of course, is the 2 days at Wealth Through Property. But I want to give you some, and by the way, if you click on that link that says book your ticket now, you'll just land on a landing page. And so all I've got now is screenshots of the landing page, and then we're going to go to the Q&A. So the 2 days, experienced mentors, accelerate your journey with the latest property strategy. So that's the core of it. And it's really RSVP. Respondez, s'il vous plaît. It's French. Look, see, I'm in France now, so I can speak. Well, I'm not in France, I'm in Monaco, but they speak French here. And so people like Lee, just go on a Trustpilot and check us out, see what people are saying. So Lee said, unbelievable what you get for that £99. Ross said, this is a while ago now, understanding options to change for 2021. So I've just picked some random ones off Trustpilot. Christina said, Wealth Through Property, game-changing event, attended Wealth Through Property. I tell you that these guys are amazing. Thank you. And we really put a lot into it. There's a big team. It's almost like a theatrical performance. There's a team of about 25 people that will look after all of you, all of the clients, to make sure that we give you the best possible experience. Chris said it was great. So will you start to change your life? That's me and the lovely Aniko out on our balcony here. That's actually the balcony. Well, you can't really see it because I've got the curtain shut so that you can see me properly. Zero pressure from me. It's completely up to you. Aniko and myself stopped needing to work years ago, so we don't really now. I make the odd appearance on a webinar every now and then, film the odd advert, whatever, and that's really, really what I do. But in addition to that, you sign up right here, right now, click the link. We'll give you 2 tickets to our live networking events. So if you want to come and meet the team in person at London, or wherever, just come along, and completely free, we're going to give you 2 physical in-person networking events. In addition to that, we will give you £100 credit on your account to spend against anything from Touchstone. So if you want to sign up and you want to bring your son, your daughter, your husband, your boyfriend, whatever, you could use your voucher to get them a Wealth Through Property ticket as well, if that's what you want to do. Or you could put it towards some more advanced or further training. I want to give you my most recent book, but I want to give it you straight away. So it'll be an ebook. So it's exactly the same. It's just as soon as you sign up, we can go bing, give it to you straight away. And you can start reading it, because ideally, I would like you to have read it before you attend Wealth Through Property, if that makes sense. Because you'll then be far better placed to ask questions and get answers about questions you didn't even know existed. And if you've read the book beforehand, you're going to get a lot more value out of the event. In addition to that, I want to give you the Temple of Wealth course. So if you remember, I said right at the start, it's essentially daily coaching from me, where I've recorded a 10 or 15-minute video. I talk about a task, like maybe measuring your time and managing your time, or mindset, or whatever it is. And that gets delivered to your inbox every morning for 42 days. You do those tasks, you will change. It's just impossible that you don't change. I will give you a complete toolkit to re-engineer your financial life such that you start to build a temple of wealth. So if you add those things together individually, you could jump on our website and pay them for more individually. You can go whenever you want. You don't have to do it now. You can go and get yourself a Wealth Through Property ticket online for £99, but that's all you get. You wouldn't get all these other bonuses. So if you want these other bonuses, do this now. So the 2 physical networking tickets, another £50, £25 each. The £100 voucher is obviously £100 because you spend it on what you want. The ebook is 30 quid. And that Temple of Wealth course, that alone, we would sell that normally for 297 plus VAT. So you're getting 576 quid worth of stuff for just £99. So it's over to you at this point. You can carry on as you are, or you can take this first step and become wealthy through property. No commitment from you at this stage, other than you come along, you make your mind up, and you decide whether you want to become one of our high value clients or not. It's never too late to be who you might have been. And in case you haven't guessed, I'm the crazy guy in the sidecar right at the front of that train of motorbikes. That's what I want to be. And that's what I want you to have as choices. I want you to have choices to do crazy stuff, charity stuff, stuff that you love, stuff for your grandchildren, stuff for the children that you don't even have yet. I want you to be wealthy so that you've got those choices. Now, if your computer's frozen, if you've just got so excited you drop your iPhone into a bucket of water or something, and you want to speak to a real live human being, well, we've got the lovely team in the office, 01302 897 131. Give them a shout and they'll get you booked on. Variety of dates and weekdays and weekends and all that, so I'm not going to go through that now. Or if you prefer, if that line's busy, just maybe text to 07934 849 913 and they will call you back as soon as they possibly can. There's hundreds of you on here. I want to say one last time, thank you for being here. And I would like to invite Mr. Stephen Doran. Are you there, Stevie?
I am here, Paul. Thank you very much for that incredible webinar. Really appreciate it.
My absolute pleasure. Ellie, could we drop the slides? Oh, there you go. You can see the two of us now. Do you know what I nearly said there, Steve? Who are those two handsome chaps? I thought, oh, it's us. All right. So what questions have you got, everybody? And remember what Steve said at the start, important strategic questions, not what is the current best buy-to-let mortgage rate, because that'll have changed by this time tomorrow. So it's top line, what's really going to make a difference, or alternatively, practical questions about wealth through property, of course. What sort of stuff do we learn? What kind of format is it? And what is that?
Excellent. So we've got some questions coming in.
Uh-huh.
One question here says, I'm a complete newbie. Can I really do property?
God, yeah. So just thinking about some of the people that I referenced as I went through, Helen Louise, primary school teacher, literally a mum of a toddler girl, just a few weeks old when she came along to Wealth Through Property, 0 property experience. And then that little video we shared, Emma, absolutely no property experience at all. Molly, absolutely no property experience at all. What about Molly's deal, by the way? £1 million building, £1.7 million profit, using none of her own money, and she didn't believe that you could use other people's money. And didn't you just? My favourite moment of the whole thing, when we came on the course, you encouraged to set a little cash flow this over. So Jane said we set ourselves £5,000 a month, and then she went all quiet, and then she went all smug, doubled it, and then she dropped in the Tesla thing as well. So I just. By the way, Stephen, what do you think to Teslas? Do you like them?
Well, I like them so much that I've got one. Yeah, absolutely. It's
Yeah.
very useful when I'm driving to Doncaster because it pretty much drives itself.
Yeah, that's nice, isn't it? Yeah, very nice.
Excellent stuff. So there's loads of questions coming through. So I'm going to do my best to work through them in a methodical order. Methodical, nearly said that wrong. There's a few similar questions along the lines of what will I learn on Wealth Through Property, or what type of content is it?
Well,
So people asking about the content on the 2 days.
No, fantastic. And well, you know as well as me, because you deliver massive chunks of it and you have done for quite a while now. So thanks for doing that. Broadly speaking, it's split up around the various strategies. And the format is almost always case study, detail, questions. We do, as well as the detail on property strategies, what I would describe as the two fundamentals are actually mindset. So we talk about mindset a lot, because I don't really care which property strategy you do. If you've got the wrong mindset, you're probably not going to get very far. And the other thing that I consider to be totally fundamental is structure and tax. So I talk about structure and tax a lot, don't I? That's probably an understatement. So the core principles, structure, tax, mindset, we talk about time a lot as well. And in that 2 days, what time's kick off? I'm trying to remember. I'm out of phase because I'm an hour ahead, so I never know what bloody time it is in the UK. But kick-off is 9:45, isn't it? Through to about 6 o'clock both days, roughly speaking, plus minus 15 minutes.
Absolutely. There's a bit of car chat that kicked off in the chat box.
We're talking about Lexuses and all sorts.
Yeah, just to bring us back on track. There's a few questions regarding the date. So the way that it works, guys, once you get your ticket, then you can secure a date, and we regularly run the event. So don't worry about that. Get your place secured, secure your deal. We run a couple of events every month. I know they do sell out quickly, so secure your ticket and then secure your place on the next event that you're available to do.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Just to reiterate what Steve's saying there, I mean, for goodness sake, if you're serious about becoming wealthy through property, 99 quid, you probably spend that driving backwards and forwards to, well, not in a Tesla maybe, but you'll spend 99 quid often going to a viewing that's not in your hometown or something, won't you? Or bloody train tickets to go to Newcastle or something. So that is a total and utter no-brainer, and we position it as that on purpose. It's not free, because in our experience, if it's free, you probably won't turn up, you probably won't take it seriously. And I love the expression, free advice is worth every penny. Because you're paying us, we take you much more seriously, and because you have paid us, you expect a certain level of service, you expect to be looked after, and so on and so forth. So having made that investment, you can actually choose online. Yeah, oh sorry, that one's sold out, but I can be with you in 6 weeks time or 4 weeks time, or whatever it is. And I think I said it earlier, Steve, but I'll just repeat in case. We have weekday events, because some people prefer weekdays to weekends. We have weekend events. And then because some people say, oh, can you do half and half? We've actually ended up doing Friday, Saturday as well, haven't we? So you've got weekdays, you've got half and half, and you've got weekends. So if you want something in the next year with 2 choices a month that isn't one of those, then please tell me what it is, because I don't know how to do that. So we're giving you everything we can.
There's a question come through here. Said, how much money will I need to invest in property as somebody, as in, it says as a newbie, so somebody starting out, how much money would they need to invest?
Sure. Well, I mean, the honest answer, but the trouble with this is, if I tell you the honest answer, probably most people won't believe me, but the honest answer is nothing. I mean, Molly just said it, didn't she? She said that on the recording, she said she's using other people's money to buy a 900 and whatever, 937 was it, down in Fareham. So the honest answer is nothing. And people say to me, well, classic one I get a lot is I've got maybe 40, 50 grand saved up, or I've just had an inheritance, or this, that, the other thing. And if I go and give you guys 10, 20, 30 grand for my training, it's only going to leave me with 20 grand to invest in property, or some variation of that. To which I normally say, all right, well, if you're going to keep your entire £50,000 and put it as a 25% deposit, with the best will in the world, you're going to end up with a £200,000 property. Now, where you are, Steve, down South London, what would you buy for 200k?
There's a nice garage up the road from me. Like you could probably park your car in if
Yeah.
if you
Nothing. Nothing.
Not really, no, not really.
And then if I take you up the road to Doncaster, where Touchstone is based, essentially Yorkshire, South Yorkshire, what could you buy for 200 grand? Well, you can buy houses for 200 grand, certainly. You'll probably get a 2, maybe 3 bed semi, maybe a bit of a garden, potentially a garage. So, not nasty or anything. It's a house, and it'll maybe rent out for 800 quid a month, maybe 850. So after you paid your mortgage, your letting fees, and your whatever, you probably make 300 quid a month. So you'll have blown your entire £50,000, and you'll be getting £300 a month. Yeah, and if that's what you want to do, good luck to you. But that's not going to make you wealthy through property. It's going to make you a little bit of extra money on the side. I'll tell you exactly what it's going to make you. It's going to make you Mr. or Mrs. average landlord. That's what most people do. They get a little nest egg or redundancy, or mum passes it on to them or something, and they go and buy another property. And it's a good thing to do, but at best it's going to be a few quid extra. It's not life-changing money. You can't hang up your boots or whatever. I mean, just thinking about your own journey, Steve, you back in the day, before you got full-time in property, you were a fireman, weren't you?
Yes, I was, yeah.
And your first investment property was not necessarily your greatest crowning glory in the world of property investment, was it?
No, it wasn't.
I mean, it's all right. So do you mind sharing what sort of money, well, what was it, and what sort of money did you make from it?
So it was 2006. It was a 2-bedroom split level masonette. I paid £130,500 for it, and sold it in October last year, 275,000. So it's not bad, but it was very average thing to do, and it didn't generate a particularly lucrative return.
Was it like a few £100 a month or something?
At the end,
What do you mean at the end?
well, once towards the end, what I actually did was I let both of the rooms separately and got a little bit extra. So it ended up making £1,000 a month profit, is what it was clearing it towards the last few years.
Hey, look at that. There's another one. Somebody else, Steve, called Stephen. I'm Steve from Bromley, and when I was a fireman, I best follow you.
Fantastic.
But just using that as an example, Steve, you sold it. And so what you've just described there, I call it a mini HMO. So you take, you were letting the bedrooms one at a time instead of letting it as a resi. But you actually then went and bought a commercial property, didn't you? Well, you've set up a commercial property, a service department, service accommodation.
That's right, yeah.
So taking the money from that, you've now put it into a service department. And that service department, which isn't in South London, what sort of money is that making you a month?
That's making £4,000 a month profit.
Woof, £4,000 a month. Pardon my ignorance, Steve and Stephen, other Steve from Bromley, does a fireman make £4,000 a month?
No, at the time I was in the fire, I was probably clearing about 2 if I was lucky. Yeah.
All right. So you and somebody else, your wages could have been replaced by that one property.
Yeah, very much so.
But problem is, people don't know how to do it, do they?
No, I didn't.
Yeah. No, well, you do now. So good stuff.
I do now. Very much so, and I'm going to keep doing it many, many times over.
Well, I think we've got about 5-6 minutes left before no flames of wealth in the fire service. We've got about 5-6 minutes left before the whole system shuts down. I really use the rude word. So everybody, before I forget, because me and Steve normally just start chatting, click the link, get your ticket, because when that link goes, you're going to lose all them bonuses. So Tina and Louise want to sign up to here. Mikhail, so team, can we get on the blower to these lovely people and make sure we get them their tickets? Kitty, Chris. Okay, so basically, folks, I mean, we got like 5 minutes left. Get yourself a ticket, and then you can ask questions for 2 days. So you can either go and try and answer questions in 5 minutes, or you can just chillax, get yourself a ticket, and spend 2 days doing it. Oh,
Got a question here.
Go on, sorry.
Question came through here saying, how quickly will the stuff that you teach work? How long will it take for someone to get up and running, I guess?
How long's a bit of string? Typically, well, you heard Molly say to get her first one up and running took, what did she say, 3 months, didn't she? You often hear months. It could be 2 months, it could be 4 months. Very rarely, you don't hear years. But as to be precisely how many months, I would say between 3 and 6. And what I personally always say is, even if you hate the boss, don't go and tell them where to stick it until you're making 3 times from property what you're making from your job, because then you can tell them to stick it safely. Narendra, you know what you're on. Well, I'll read it. Do you not need 25% deposit and good credits earning to buy a commercial property? No, is the short answer. And what that proves to me, Narendra, is you need to get yourself on well through property.
There's been a few questions popping in about basically about joint venture, but asking, is it possible to raise that finance from other people and so on and so forth? I guess because if people aren't familiar with that, it's a new world to them. So
sure. Dan, great question. Dan is saying, will you share lessons from bad deals? It can't be all preaching clean. No, peaching clean. Okay, so essentially, do we share the learnings that we've had, things that we've screwed up? Yes. And I actually wrote a book about it. So it's called the Property Investment Survival Guide, or Survival Manual, sorry. So if you want to read a book of my top 6 screw ups of all time, because, you know, believe it or not, if you do something for 40 years, you're going to mess it up occasionally. But to save yourself the time, everybody, just go and get yourself a copy of the Property Investment Survival Manual and have a laugh at my expense. I got it, Dan. Peachy, that's what you meant. Sorry, I thought it was my eyes going. Christopher, yes. Christopher saying, I don't have a credit history yet, not eligible for mortgage. Can I still invest? Yes. About 20% of the people that we help, the investors, the Touchstone family, they're foreign nationals. So very simple. Can you personally do it? No. Can you set up a limited company, and can that limited company do it? Yes. So we can take you through that. What do you reckon, Stevie? Time for one more, maybe?
It always puts pressure on which one to pick, because I was just scrolling through and just working out, and I'm trying to, because some people ask a very similar question, and I'm trying to work out which one I can roll into one. But yeah, I think time for one more. I'm purposely swerving. There's a lot of questions about mortgages and mortgage companies, and I know that you specifically said let's not focus in on mortgages. Don't get me wrong, it's an important part of the equation later, but right now, if you think a bit more high level, what would you say, Paul, is an important lesson? If you could go back in time, what's something you wish you knew earlier? That's my question. I know we don't usually do that, but I'm going to ask a question to you.
Yeah. So looking back, what maybe would I have done different, or what do I know now that would accelerate my journey? The most obvious thing to me, Steve, we're different generations, aren't we? I mean, I'm late 50s, you're not. I'll let everyone work out quite how young you are, but you're nothing like me. When I kicked off doing that, I actually bought my first property in 1982. And probably quite a few people listening to this weren't even born in 1982. And I bought a flat, 269A Roman Road, East Ham, for £9,000. And that flat, I sold it. I did right, I'm not moaning. I sold it 2 years later for 33 grand, which was unbelievable money to me. Because you think, well, you wouldn't even know probably, but the average salary at the time, full time, was like 9 grand a year. So I just made more tax-free because I was living in it. I did this flip. But I didn't maximize the opportunity because there weren't any books on property investing. There were no courses. So everything I learned for that first 20, 25 years was all self-taught. And being a property investor, and many, many property investors of my age and older will tell you this, it can be very, very lonely. So even so do you need technical knowledge? Do you need access to contacts? Do you just need some mates? Because I couldn't talk to people about property investment because I didn't know anybody that was property investing. I was on my own, and I was doing everything from first principles. So if I had the opportunity, I mean, Jesus, there was no, I mean, yeah, we had the internet and we had like electric lights and stuff, but we didn't have YouTube. It didn't exist. So all of these free things like YouTube and Facebook and podcasts and books, I really, really wish I'd stuck my head into property and wealth education earlier than I did, because I did. But now, never mind a multi-millionaire, I'll be a billionaire. Absolutely no two ways about it. Like, zero doubt in my mind, it would have added zeros to my journey. And I've done all right, but with the benefit of hindsight, but yeah, I'm kind of hypothesizing here because I'm telling you I would have done something that I couldn't have done. But I just wish I'd had the opportunity to invest in my own education earlier. So that's it, really.
Fantastic. And I know you often speak about the four, or both speak about the four important things, which is knowledge, action, network, and mindset. And I think with any one of those lacking, then you're not going to get where you want to go. With all of them in place, you'll certainly get further faster. So, guys, if you want to hear from myself, you want to hear from Paul, you want to spend 2 days with us, you want to get deep and take a deep dive into all things property, then click that link, secure your space, plus all of those free incentives and free gifts that Paul's bundled in with you today. Too many for me to actually remember. Click that link, get yourself signed on. Would love to spend some time with you and add some more value. And I always like to think, rather than, if you don't do anything, sure, your life's going to stay the same. But if you want something different, you have to do something different. You have to show up. At the very beginning, those of you that will know that I said it's not just about getting knowledge, it's about getting knowledge and taking some action. So that first part of the action would be join us for 2 days, learn some more about what you can do and what you can achieve and how you can do it, and let us support you on your journey. Sorry, Paul, to interject, but I'm just aware there's people listening. They're going to want to spend a couple of days with us. We're going to wrap up, and they're going to go, "Oh, I forgot to click the link," because I'm so busy listening to.
Okay, let's do this. Me and you can disappear. We can leave it live for a bit. We can leave that link there. But everybody, here's a request. I'm an engineer, by the way, and I don't know if you know this about engineers, Steve. You can always tell an engineer, you just can't tell them much. So we're very, very skeptical people, and we like to have things proven to us. And that's why I've given names. That's why we've got this very, very low risk entry to see if you like us or not. So last thing I just want to share with you as an observation is it's really, really difficult for me to imagine that you want to leap in and invest significant sums of money without having a little taster first. And that's what the 2 days is designed to be. It's an exposure to us, see if you like us, see if you like the team, which strategist you want, and see if you want to take it further. And that's it. So thank you to each and every one of you for being here. Thank you in particular to Steve for co-hosting and being the question master. And please, can I ask you in that chat box, give Steve some love, give the team some love for putting this on for you. It's there's plenty of people involved, even in doing a 1 hour webinar. So on your behalf, if it's okay, I just want to say thank you to Steve and all the rest of the Touchstone team. And as I normally finish by saying, you've been wonderful. I've been Paul. I'll see you next time. I'm out of here. I'll leave everybody with you, Steve. See you later.
Thanks very much, Paul. Much appreciated. Incredible, guys. I hope you've had a fantastic time on the webinar. I look forward to spending 2 days with you. And I just want you to remember those 4 things that I mentioned: the importance of knowledge. Make sure you get some knowledge. Action, make sure you back it up with some action. Network, make sure you surround yourself with people that are doing the things that you want to do, achieving the things that you want to achieve, so you can get further faster. And finally, mindset. And they're the things that we're going to work with you over those 2 days, where we give you the content and show you exactly how you can do what we're doing within the Touchstone community. So massive